Vinland Saga is filled with rich characters that play on real historical figures and legends. Nowhere is this more prevalent than Canute's Lineage, which has ample references to real-life kings and queens. I thought it would be fun to take a look at this twisted family tree, talk about their actions in the manga, and compare these fictionalized versions to their real-life counterparts. Without further ado, let's get started. At the top of this family tree, we have King Sweyn, or Sweyn Forkbeard, as he's known in our world. Sweyn is the oldest member that we know of in the Forkbeard lineage. He is the king of Denmark and is responsible for the Vikings that are attacking the Isles of Britain. He would go on to father 3 children, those being Harold, the eldest son, Estrid, Sweyn's only daughter, and Canute, the youngest son. Sweyn is a rash old man who doesn't take weakness too kindly. Canute had once made him a meal, and rather than accept it with kindness, he lashed out, stating that cooking is a slave's job. His treatment towards Canute would only worsen as he would send the young prince to conquer Britain with a small outnumbered army. This was a win-win scenario for Sweyn. If the Brits killed Canute, then the thorn in his side would be gone. If Canute had won the battle, then he would be the king of 2 countries. Canute managed to conquer Britain with the help of Askeladd, Thorfinn, Thorkel, and the late Ragnar. When Canute and his forces returned to Denmark, Sweyn tried to have him assassinated, and the two would wage a cold war until Askeladd would behead King Sweyn, making Canute the new temporary king until his older brother could take the position. Just like his manga counterpart, the real-life Sweyn was a king who was born on April 17th, 963. He would become king of Denmark in 986. Sweyn would lead 2 different campaigns, the first to take over Norway, which he became king of in 999, and the second to take over England in 1013. He would reign over all 3 kingdoms until his murder on February 3rd, 1014, leaving behind his 3 wives and 7 children. His death was caused by a spear to the chest when he was sleeping. Local tales claim that the king was murdered by the ghost of Saint Edmund, one of the many people killed by the Vikings. This could be where Yukimura got the idea of the curse of the crown, as King Sweyn and Canute do see ghosts of people they've killed. Moving down the family tree, we have Harold, the eldest child of King Sweyn. There's not too much to say about Harold as he only appears in 2 chapters. The reason is that Canute poisoned him to keep the crown for himself. This is something that happened in the real world. Harold Svedson II was born in the late 990s and would become king in 1014. He would reign over the throne until he was poisoned by Canute the Great in 1018. Because of his short stint on the throne, not much is known about Harold, which explains his short appearance in the manga. I definitely respect Yukimura's decision to not really mess with this detail, as I think it shows just how far Canute has gone from the shy teenager we knew into this ruthless king he's become. Since we're talking about him, let's move on to Canute. Canute is one of the main antagonists in the series, arguably the biggest given just how many chapters he appears in. He was first sent by his father to conquer England, but was forced to retreat due to Thorkel and his followers helping the Englishmen simply because he enjoys a good fight. He's eventually captured by Thorkel and was going to be used as ransom until they joined forces along with Askeladd and his crew to take down King Sweyn. Along their journey back to Denmark, Ragnar, Canute's guard and adoptive father figure, is killed by Askeladd's crew so Canute could be more easily manipulated. Once back in Denmark, there are multiple attempts on his life on his father's behalf since Canute is seen as a failure by his father. King Sweyn is eventually beheaded by Askeladd and Canute becomes king of England and Denmark. As we covered earlier, he poisons his brother and is currently dealing with supply issues. With his kingdoms running low on food, he wages a discreet war against a farmer named Kettle, who owns a private land that, if acquired, would fix the supply issues. And this is the last we've seen of Canute in the manga. The real-life Canute was born in 990 AD. Just like the manga, he was sent to conquer England, but this time he had the help of Boleslaw the Great, who was the Duke of Poland at the time. Alongside the Polish troops sent to help in this conquest, it's believed that Canute led roughly 10,000 Danish soldiers and 200 longships into this war. The conquest lasted about 14 months, with the invasion starting in Wessex, crossing the River Thames, and continuing north. London ended up being where the Danish and English would have the final battles, as Prince Edmund, who had recently been made King of England after his father's death, continued to defend against Canute and his forces. After the Battle of Assendon, Edmund and Canute had met to negotiate the end of the war, and they decided to split the land. Everything north of the Thames would be Canute's, and everything south would remain Edmund's, ending the war on October 18th, 1016. A few weeks later, King Edmund was found dead, and Canute claimed all of England. As mentioned earlier in 1018, he became king of Denmark after his brother's death, but something that hasn't been shown yet is his conquest of Norway. Although I called it a conquest, Olaf Haraldson wasn't able to put up much of a fight. fight, as his nobles had turned against him and his wives were captured for Canute's rituals and the dark arts. Canute would lead all 3 kingdoms until his death in 1035, making him roughly 45 years old when he died. His bones were buried under the Old Minster in Winchester. The building would be replaced by the Winchester Cathedral, which still remains to this day. Although Ragnar isn't a direct family member and more of an adoptive father figure, I still want to include him and his brother in this family tree, as I don't think they get a video for themselves. In the manga, Ragnar acts as Canute's advisor and personal bodyguard. He's had this role since Canute was a child and became a sort of adoptive father to the young prince. He helped Canute during the conquest of England, but would be murdered by Askeladd and his forces so they could control the prince more easily. I believe this character was inspired by Ragnar Lodbrok, a Danish legend that has historians debating whether he was actually real or not. Some sources say he was a Danish ruler and some don't. Some say he was part of this war and others don't. We do know his sons Ivar, Ubba, Halfdan, Bjorn, Hvitserk, and Sigurd were real, but it's debated whether he was actually their father. I personally think Ragnar may have been a real person, but his actions were mistranslated like a game of telephone, where things get left out, replaced, or completely changed, and that's why we have so many different accounts with an equal amount of contradictions. Gunnar is Ragnar's brother in the manga, and after his brother's death, he becomes an informant for Canute during the Cold War with King Sweyn. Gunnar is inspired by Gunnar Hammundarson. I'm struggling with that name, so I apologize if I mispronounce it. A real-life Icelandic chieftain. He was skilled at combat and archery and pretty much everything you needed at that time. Now we move on to Estrid, Canute's sister and the last of the Forkbeard lineage. Just like Harold, there isn't much to say about her as she only appears in 2 chapters. We do know that she married Wolf, Canute's new advisor, but that's about it. And that is Canute's lineage. I hope you found this as interesting as I did, and let me know if you'd like to see more Vinland Saga lore videos and more lore videos in general. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.